Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Bench Squat and Dessert. I'm Paul, the trainer,
And I'm Melinda, the health coach.
and we just talk about foods and health and whatnot. Great description I did. We talk about exercise, dessert, fitting them together so it works for you in your daily life.
Mm-hmm.
It's great weather, so get outside right now if you're in Minnesota. Actually, everywhere in the country, it's
Yeah, the
pretty
whole
well.
country is supposed to be doing pretty well today.
So
Enjoy it.
get outside when you can. Today's episode is about nutrition labels. Now, I don't know how many people actually read the back of the nutrition label.
They say the percentage is quite low, actually.
Is
They
it?
do a study to see how many people do it from time to time, and a lot of it's still kind of down.
Well, that needs to change. But for the most part, people will read the front of it. So
Which is
if
why
something,
they put it there.
so if something says high protein, they'll believe it's high protein, even if it's not high protein. 8 grams of protein is not high to me, but
Well, because there's a standard because you can't call something good or excellent unless it meets a certain standard level. So when it says good protein, it 8 is the minimum, I think, for protein as far as being good.
so they might add it in just high enough to hit that level.
Yep.
That sounds about right.
But there's an excellent source of protein too, but I can't remember what that number is.
Okay.
So there are levels.
So it is rules.
It means something. Yes. It's not just somebody going, "Hey, I got good protein." You can't do that.
Got it.
I'm also a food scientist. That's why I
That's
know
true.
that.
So this episode is right up your alley. You should have all the information we need. And for the people out there who need to learn how to read labels a little bit better, or at least pay attention to them. Now, simply put, I'd say that the front of the bag is basically the marketing. The back is where the facts are. Would you agree for the most part?
Yeah, they give highlights on the front, and the point of having those front of label, because they're called like front of label, markers, is to get people to at least kind of pay attention to how much fat, how much protein, how much carbohydrate, or if there's something good about this product. But I would agree with you, yes, the meat and the potatoes are really on the back. You really need to turn the thing over and look, because it's like taking a snapshot. Oh, it's got 8 grams of protein. Good. But it has, 400 calories, or it has, 1,000 milligrams of sodium. That's not necessarily going to say that in the front. So you can't just say, oh, it's good in protein, so it's good for me.
Yeah.
That assumption you cannot make. You can only make good decisions if you turn the label over and look at all the data that's available to you.
Yeah. It seems like the big ones now are protein and fiber. They're the ones
Because
that
they
you
know that's
see.
what people are looking for. Because we're all kind of low in those things, especially
Exactly.
fiber.
Most people's diets have not enough of neither. Got to stay regular though, so
Yes.
get your fiber.
Get your fiber in.
Hopefully in a whole food-ish way, but
And
You
don't
know,
forget that
yeah.
water.
oh
Or
gosh.
you might have a problem. That's
just
for
get-
another episode.
they could just watch this whole episode while they're on the toilet. That's what can happen.
Right, pretty much the whole time.
All right, so why are nutrition labels important? Food scientist Melinda, why?
That
do
is
they
a
need to
good
read
question.
them?
To me, as a food scientist, it's interesting information. Probably to a nutritionist, they would think this information is important to understand what foods you can eat, how much you can eat, what are you getting in, especially if you're trying to track for weight loss or maintenance. It's important to have that information. I know a lot of people don't agree with nutrition facts, but they really have put a lot of work into trying to make them as regular as possible so that you can compare 2 products and pretty much be able to figure out which one is better for you or which is worse. Because that's why some of them have standard sizes. They just went through a regroup on how much is a real serving of ice cream, or what is a real serving of a beverage,
Right.
so that the packages have to be marked
More
towards what people would actually do, rather than what is a standard
decided.
size. Like pop is a classic example of this, because you've got the 20 ouncer, right? But before, you used to be able to label it as 8 ounces. So if you didn't know, that is just for that 8-ounce drink, what that label says. That does not include you drinking the other 1.5
2 1/3 or 1 1/3 servings.
Servings in there. They're just assuming you're going to drink that one serving. So that's what gets you kind of in trouble.
So you can't just necessarily flip it around and say
And
this
just
is
take
much.
the numbers as is.
And
But
then-
they've done a really good job of trying to make sure, because the 20 ounces now are labeled for the entire bottle. So if you drink that whole bottle, that is what you're going to be drinking.
Right. Which is good.
Mm-hmm.
So now it seems like everything has more nutritional facts. Like not grocery stores, but restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously you can look up almost any place online that is, like a franchise.
Most franchises.
All fast food. You can see all that online. So the information is out there more. Is there anything you would tell people to look for yourself?
What do you mean look for themselves?
So if they're going, I'm going to go to Burger King.
Oh, yeah.
Do you just look at nutrition facts? Do you look at other things also yourself?
Well, personally, I do look at the nutrition facts, but I also look at like what's in it, what's in that food. Like if I have any, like cheese is not my friend, dairy is not my friend really. So it depends on, do I want to feel really bad? Then I'll go get something with cheese. If I don't feel like going there, then I don't get anything with cheese.
So you go by the facts and kind of how
Personal
it makes you
preference.
feel.
I
your
go by
body.
personal preference of what I want my body to feel like after I eat that thing. Yeah.
Interesting. That means that you also have to like take notice of when you feel good and bad.
Mm-hmm. And I do. I take notice when I feel good or bad. And do I want to continue this upward swing of goodness, or do I, is it worth it? Is what I'm asking myself. Is it worth it to make that decision?
What's the biggest shock you've seen? Because one shock that I saw, I work in a normal office, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we do birthday treats.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we used to before COVID and everybody's home.
Yeah.
But we do once a month birthday treats.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like Office Space, like literally the movie where you come in, everybody's like, "Oh, it's your birthday days." Hey.
Yep.
I mean, it was.
Yep, we do that too.
I was like, it was that lame and everything.
But ours wasn't that lame, but okay.
No, it's the depression. It was like, but anyways, that's not part of the story.
Okay.
What I'm really saying is, someone bought in those jumbo muffins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you get
Because they're cheap. And
Sam's and Costco.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You
can
a
get
lot of them.
a good amount for 40 people or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna grab a muffin. It can't be that bad.
Because it's a muffin, right?
Yeah. So I think I grabbed like a blueberry muffin or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe I
So innocent. It's
maybe
got
I
fruit.
grabbed the chocolate. I can't remember which one I grabbed. Maybe it was chocolate chip.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, you know what? Let me just see what it is. Because I was just, I don't know. I didn't have a clue. I was like, all right, a donut's probably about 200. Let me see what this is.
Mm-hmm.
I checked the thing. It was 600 to 700 calories.
Wow.
Literally. It was a whole meal. I sat at my desk and I was like, I can't eat this. Like, I can't waste a whole meal. I was like, why are they making these?
700 calories.
700
I can't
calories.
Even figure out what's in there.
I
that
looked
was-
at it and
Because
I
they're
was
only
like,
like this big, right?
they're like this, and they got
And
the big, and they're pretty thick.
Yeah.
I mean, it will fill
It
you
is
up.
dense. It
It
is
will
dense
fill
and
you
they're
up.
heavy.
And I was like, oh. So I chopped the top off and ate that and left the rest. I was like, I already committed to grabbing it now.
That's true. If you don't like the bottom and you want the muffin,
I just cut it at
Just
the
cut
cut
it
it
and
right
just
at the
throw it
wrapper
away.
part.
Why
Especially
waste-
if it's free. I didn't pay for it. I mean, sorry for the person bringing birthday treats, but I was like, after that, I shared at most or just didn't do it.
I do a lot of
I was
shit.
like, because I can't waste 600, 700 calories. I was like,
To
that's
be
what gets you in
hungry a
trouble.
little bit later?
Because
No
think about it, if you
thanks.
ate breakfast, and then you have that, we do it usually in the morning-ish. So that'd be
Which
like
is
your
the best time
midday
to do
snack. You just added 600 to 700 calories.
Which is a meal.
Which
yeah.
is another meal full of fat and carbs, because that's all it is.
There's no protein.
And then you go about your day. You're not really that much fuller.
And if you didn't get rid of your 2 o'clock Kit Kat,
yeah.
that's a problem.
You did a lot of damage. I was shocked at how many calories are in that. This was years ago. Now I know to just look at everything. I was like, there's no way. Like,
I tell people that all the time, though, because, I've been looking at labels for years, literally for years. When I was just a food scientist and as a person who cares about what they put in their body now. But it shocked me at how sometimes you really can't tell how much is in a food. You really can't visually comprehend what is in there. Our brains aren't made to do that. So let the science help you with that label. It tells you what is there. Just turn it over and just be like, huh. At least know, even if you decide to eat it, because there's been times where I've turned the label over and I've been like, well,
I guess it's going down.
it's going down. Or I've already bought it and didn't, think to look at the label, thinking I could guess. And I'm like, whew. But have the knowledge,
Exactly.
At least know what you've done.
And maybe you can adjust a little more in the day.
Because that's what I've done. I've like, ooh, I just messed up. So now I have to adjust for the rest of the day, or I have to adjust tomorrow or whatever. But walking in ignorance is not good, because that's when you're going to come, 20 pounds heavier, or, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds heavier. It gets there eventually if you keep eating like that. And then you're wondering, well, what happened? I don't even understand. I just had a muffin for breakfast. You just had 600 calories.
600 calories.
Kind of thing. And then I had my Starbucks full of whatever, coffee with it, which could also be another 600 calories.
That's funny, that part, yeah.
So
if not more.
You think you ate a light breakfast, but you really didn't. You ate a half a day's
1,000 calories
worth of meal.
You could literally have 600. That's 1,200 calories.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you could have had a really nice fattening meal, eating your muffin and your sweetened coffee drink.
The volume of food that you could have if you ate fairly healthy.
Yeah.
Even fairly. That's a lot of food.
That's a lot of food.
So it's easy, and that stuff goes down so easily.
It does.
Number one, it's a liquid, so the coffee,
It does
the
go
whipped
so
cream,
easy.
and all that stuff. But the muffin, it doesn't. I mean, you get kind of full at the moment, but then it goes away, and then you're like, I need lunch. Like, it's crazy. I don't know. I was shocked. I'll never do that again. I know that much. All right, so with nutrition labels.
Back to the
One of the things that I look at first glance, obviously when I flip it around, we're using chocolate chips.
So healthy.
Because it's Bench Squad dessert. We gotta use a dessert as an example. Most of the time people will just put these in cookies, but you can't eat them in your hand. First thing I would look at myself is the calories, obviously.
Yep.
Next thing, the serving size, as you were mentioning before. Calories is relative to the serving size you're gonna have. So it can say 70, like this one says 70 calories, but that's only 13 of those little chocolate chips. And if you put some in your hand, you're probably going to have more than 70, or more than 13, is my guess.
Unless you weigh your food.
Yes, which most people do not.
Do not. Yeah.
After that, I tend to look at the macros. Carbs, fats, protein. Obviously, chocolate chips do not have a lot of protein, just in case you did not know. Less than 1 gram, it says. Fat's going to be fairly high for the ratio amount of food or calories. 4 here, 10 carbs. 10 carbs is not that much, but again, it's very little bit amount of food for how many calories it is. Anything else you look at when you see this?
No, I do the same thing. I probably reverse it just a little bit, and I look at fat, and then calories, and then carbs. And depending on the type of food, because I kind of know what foods are going to have proteins and what is not. Depends on my goal for that food. Like if I'm trying to get protein, then I'm going to look at protein first.
Right.
Or if I'm trying to, keep the fat down, then I'm looking at fat first to see what that is. Because sometimes something can have decent calories, and then the fat is just outrageous.
Right.
Because I've had that happen, Panera, um, where the calories were decent, and then I looked at the fat, and I was like, whoa.
And fat's not bad,
It's
but
not bad. It's not.
you
But
should still
I
have a
don't
limited
need that
amount
much
per
fat
day.
right now. I just didn't need that much.
I was like, there's enough that you need for just the
Well,
run
I wanted
regularly.
to save my fat. Full disclosure, I wanted to save my fat for my peanut butter.
Yes.
To me, that was more worth it than for some salad dressing. To me, that's not worth it because that's not as tasty.
I agree. Of course I do. Probably about 85% of my fat's going peanut butter, let's be honest. Or nuts in general. Cashews, whatever.
At least I get to chew with cashews, though, or nuts or something. But if it's just salad dressing...
Yeah. Those hidden fats you don't want. So the other thing you can do is look at the ingredients in the food. So if you're trying to be healthy, this does take a little bit more knowledge, I would say, because some of it's tricky, as you would say, because I'll let you explain it, how things have to be broken down since you're the
They do, because people think that food scientists are trying to be tricky. They're really not trying to be tricky. There is a legal way that food has to be labeled. First of all, it has to be labeled as the biggest ingredient first, all the way down to the least ingredient. And some of the labels, they look complicated because if I make a chocolate chip cookie and you make a chocolate chip cookie, they're probably pretty much going to be the same. The difference is I have to take these chocolate chips, put a little parentheses around it, and then break down everything that's in those chocolate chips, which you don't have to do that. When you're at home, you're going to say flour, sugar, butter. Eggs, butter, chocolate chips, move on. Scientists can't do that. If you're selling food to the public, you have to break down what's in those chocolate chips. If you're using flour that has some kind of enrichment, you have to break that down. I can't just say flour. That's not legal. Everything has to be in there. So if you're using your little cub and it's not organic and it's not, whatever other different kind of flour you want to have, or you're not breaking it down yourself at home, which some people do. No judgment. Good for you. But if you buy that kind of flour, your flour probably has things in it too, but you don't have to break it down when you're making it at home versus me making it on the label. I have to break it down.
So what you're saying is not necessarily just because the list
is long. The volume does not mean that it's less natural, is what I'm trying to say.
Than even something necessarily made at home.
Yes.
It's just you have to literally
break everything, which I'm glad about. You should be able to break everything down. But I mean, the next time you make cookies, turn the ingredient over for every single ingredient that you use to make those cookies. And you'll see how your list is going to be just as long, if not longer, than what if you bought a good cookie at a bakery or something.
Yeah.
Now, I don't count Oreos because there's just a whole lot going on.
Yeah, that's different.
That's a very different cookie, but...
I was like, this is a good example because this is chocolate chips. Ghirardelli?
Ghirardelli chocolate chips.
So the ingredients are cane sugar, unsweetened chocolate, cocoa butter, whole milk powder, soy lecithin.
Soy lecithin.
Lecithin? Mm-hmm. I mean,
it's a binder.
And vanilla extract. Mm-hmm. So
not binder. It's an emulsifier. That's
emulsifier. What does that mean?
That allows you to have a water-loving end and a fat-loving end come together.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, your chocolate chips would be they wouldn't be looking
all like
homogeneous. That's not the word I was looking for. I want a normal word. They wouldn't look smooth and solid. They would separate.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So instead of writing chocolate chip, you would have to write all that down.
I would have to write
in your
all
cookie
that
recipe.
Down. Mm-hmm.
So that's how a list can get longer than
That's how they can get long.
And I would just say Google the word if you don't know what it is.
Because
some words
there's a lot of places that you can get that. Yeah.
Are difficult to say or don't know what it is, and it's not necessarily something bad. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't assume everything you see on your label is horrible. Obviously, if you're having like beef and you see some weird stuff. I mean,
Yes.
obviously that makes. But if you're having chocolate chips, it might just mean another word for vanilla extract or something like that. Is what I'm saying. So Google it. Don't necessarily assume and say I can only have foods with 3 ingredients.
Yeah.
And that's it.
If
Because
I
I'm
can't
natural.
pronounce it, then it's not, good or
I was like, not necessarily. Like,
yeah. Just
everything's not absolute. Let's just say
it's
it
not.
that way.
Some things are there for functional reasons. They're not adding extra just to poison. But the expectation, and I've said this before too, the expectation of food is to look the same, taste the same every single time. And it's just not possible to do that without adding other ingredients to help that happen.
So it's uniformity.
Because when you're processing a food product, you're processing it at a high temperature to make sure it doesn't kill people. Because you have food that's sitting on the shelf for 9, 12 months. Because by the time it gets through the distribution system to get to you, you don't want to open up that bag of Cheerios and it's moldy or it's got
Right.
some other weird things in it. So I don't know why I keep saying people's names. Sorry. We're not sponsored by these people. So they have to put things in there to help preserve the food long enough so it tastes the same between 6 months and 9 months later, or that it looks the same. Those things, you have to add things to do that. If you're going to buy something that is heavily processed, that's the expectation, because you're going to write to me if your cereal or your beverage looks weird, 6 months from now. Well, it tasted like this the last time I bought it, but this time it tastes fruitier, and the next time it's a different color, and
You have to have that uniformity.
you're going to have that variance if you don't have some of these functional ingredients in there, like the soy lecithin, that helps keep that chocolate looking like chocolate, like everyone wants it to, smooth and uniform color, melts in your mouth a certain way. That's the only way to get that to work. So, it's not that it's all bad and that scientists are trying to poison you, and I understand, because I'm a scientist. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me. Go cook all your food. If that's what you want to do, I'm all for it. I cook a lot of my food, but
most likely that's not.
if
gonna
you
happen.
if you want uniformity, you're going to have some extra things in there. That's all.
Got it. So in summary, I would say,
That was long. Sorry.
yeah, it's all right. You went on a little rant. You went on one of those food science rants, but that's okay. We're not trying to kill you guys. Very defensive. That's all I'm saying. In summary, though, for the whole episode, turn it around. Look at the nutrition facts. Check out the calories based on the serving size. Look at the macros, fats, protein. See what you need or what you're going for. If you want a higher protein food and you're going for, let's say, cashews, but they don't really have that much protein compared to fat, maybe you need a different food.
Right.
And then also look at the ingredients and know that the most of that ingredient, or the most that the ingredient has,
It's listed from greatest
First.
to least.
There you go.
Least.
greatest to least. To least. The most that the greatest amount of that ingredient is listed first.
Yes.
The least amount
Is
in the
the
food
last
is last.
ingredient. Yes.
Wow, that took a lot.
I know.
And just because a word is hard to pronounce does not mean that it's bad.
Google it.
Google it. We all have smartphones. We can do
Most
it.
of us, yes.
Anybody watching this video probably has a
Well,
smartphone.
that's true. That's a good point.
All right. Any other thoughts?
No, I think I had enough thoughts today.
That's all right. Winded like a preacher.
I know.
All right. That is it for this video episode podcast.
Yes.
Till next time. Peace.
Peace.